We're on live. We are with Paul Karlsson, legendary race director, founder of the Boulder Peak Triathlon way back in what, 1997?
92.
We're on the deck of Mount Vernon Country Club, Paul's home turf. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're doing a little preview ride and run today. Actually, we rode the run course for your triathlon coming up on September 6th? 5th. Thank you. September 5th. So tell us about the Lookout Tri, and then we'll get into some other stuff.
So Lookout Mountain Triathlon was started in 2007, I think, 2008 by Darren Eisman, Racing Underground. And he realized that I had grown up here in Mount Vernon. So after 2 years, he sold me the race, and so I've run it for the last, this is my 7th year of putting on this race. So we've changed the course a few times, and it's a great course for first-time triathletes because it's only a 500-yard pool swim, 10-mile bike ride that's quite hilly, and then a 3-mile run on the dirt roads of Mount Vernon Country Club.
And it goes by your...
It goes by the house my parents lived in after the kids were gone, and it goes by my childhood house, and it goes by where I went to preschool. The Tour de Paul.
I mean, it's a beautiful run course, truly. And it's got some nice hills, and it's relaxing, and it's in the shade.
Yeah, a lot of it's in the shade. It's in the trees. The worst part of the race is about the last half of the first mile. You go up this road called Aspen Way. That's pretty much a grunt climb for about a third of a mile. But then you wander around through the forest past my parents' house, and then you from there a couple more hills. But the scenery kind of outdoes the ugliness of the uphill. And then the last mile is almost all downhill to the finish.
And this is all the stages at Mount Vernon Country Club.
Right.
Swim at the pool here.
Yeah, 525-yard pool swim.
Okay.
Lifeguard.
Serendipitous swim?
No, they just 2 people per lane. Usually we do 4 people per lane. But this year, because of COVID, with the enhanced safety protocols, we're doing 2 people per lane. And lifeguards count your laps for you. Oh. And when you got 1 length left, they put the kickboard down or they tap you on the head. You swim to the other end, get out, run down to transition, take off on the bike.
How do your waves work?
The slowest swimmers go first.
Okay.
So it's like an accordion, so we got the really fast people going at the end. And with 2 people per lane this year, it's probably going to take us 2.5 hours to get through all the swimmers. So there'll be a lot of people will be done before some people even start, which is helping us to allow more people to do the race, since we can't have more than 175 people on site at any given time. So we can take 225 for the number of entrants.
So 225. How many? And then you've got a couple weeks left. There's a few spots left, but better sign up soon.
Yeah, the Air Force Academy triathlon team is signing up today, and they're taking 35 slots.
Well, there you go.
So that's going to narrow it down a little bit more. So
is there going to be other colleges?
That's the only college that contacted me, and they were going to go do a race that got canceled, and so he contacted me, and I was joking that I was going to make the discount go Rams. But I made the discount Zoomies, and so they're all excited. They just got to get clearance from the Air Force to be able to come up.
Did you talk to the Mines people at all? Seem like a
no.
normal...
I mean, I should reach out to them.
Yeah,
Mines and CU, see if they want to bring their teams up here.
My podcast partner Rich, his daughter races for Mines.
Okay.
Maybe we can figure out how to get him up here.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Great.
So while I got you, Paul. Well, what else do you want to talk about with the triathlon itself? Anything else?
It's just, it's going to fill up this year because there's so few races. There's probably only going to be 3 triathlons this year. Darren's Littlefoot Triathlon, which is already full, and then the Last Chance Triathlon up at Boyd Lake at the end of the month.
Right.
And there's probably only triathlons that are going to happen all summer. So we feel fortunate that we got the go-ahead from Jeff Go Health with the enhanced safety protocols, and I think the pool swim came to our advantage because we could spread everybody out so much.
Right.
And we do have Sheriff and State Patrol out on the bike course. It's a fun, short bike course, but it's got some serious grunt.
It's kind of punchy. I mean, there's 1,000 feet of climbing in 10 miles.
1,000 feet of climbing. It's got Paradise Hill is not as steep as the old stage, but it's there. It's a hill. So
well, let's talk about that. That's a good transition. You started the Boulder Peak back in the day, including old stage. You've been in this sport probably as long as anybody in Colorado, right?
Yeah, he's just doing an interview. So if you go ahead.
That's part of the impromptu. Paul owns the place up here, by the way.
Yeah, Mayor of Golden. No, I'm not.
So talk about how you got to start the peak and some of your history. It's really colorful, and people who may not know you should know you because you're really a father. You're a Mount Rushmore of triathlon in the Colorado market.
So we used to do a race, racing race called the Aspen High Country Triathlon up in Aspen, which was just brutal. And it was a 40-mile bike and a 10-mile run that went up Ajax and back down.
Okay.
And they did a really bad job the last couple of years. They put it on, so we said, hey, let's put on our own race. And I put on a race in 1990 when I was 25 years old, 26 years old, called the the Evergreen High Country Triathlon, which went up Squaw Pass. I said I'd never put on a race again for the rest of my life. And a year later, I get introduced to a guy, and we started the Boulder Peak Triathlon. It had been 5 years since the Governor's Cup race had ended. And so it was just kind of the right place at the right time. We got 400 people the first year. And then in 99, we were an Ironman qualifier.
See, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So you qualified for an Ironman in Kona?
Yeah.
With an Olympic distance race?
And I knew it was going to be a one-year shot. I knew they were going to go either half Ironmans or Ironmans after it, which they did. And we were lucky. They gave away probably 50 slots to Kona that year, and we got people from all. It was the first year we sold out, 1,600 people.
Wow.
I got my 30 seconds of fame on ESPN, and from after that, from 1990 until I sold in 2004, we sold out every year, probably 3 or 4 months in advance.
So the High V Triathlon was probably going on then, wasn't it? Because those were 2 marquee Olympic distance, weren't they?
There was the big ones were Memphis in May. In Memphis, and then there was Chicago sometimes, and then there was one in Cleveland.
Not the High V in Des Moines?
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
That was like in the mid 2000s when that started to get big. Yeah.
Because I know like Matty Fitzgerald talked about how he did the High V one day, flew to Boulder, and then did the Peak, because that was a good pro circuit.
Yeah, and we had like 20,000. When I sold Boulder Peak, we had $20,000 in prize money.
Yeah.
And we'd get all the top pros. Which made me feel special because I got to race at Kona in '99 because I didn't qualify. So I got invited, and and it was since I was invited, we got the rack next to the pros.
Okay.
So all these pros were like, hey, Paul, there's Greg Welch and Lori Bowden and Tim DeBoom, all these people, like, you're like this.
That was when Tim won.
The year after Tim won.
Okay.
It was the guy from the Netherlands won.
Okay.
Somebody Von something.
Yeah.
Nick Von something. I know he was so far in front.
Yeah.
I mean, he was coming down the hill to finish, and I was about 7 miles into the marathon.
Yeah. So you've done some. You and I have talked. We didn't know this, but we grew up around each other. We have a lot of the same friends. You went to the other high school in Jefferson County called Golden. I went to Wheat Ridge.
Little Satan lovers, yes.
So what do you love about this whole sport?
It's just it was I don't know if it's my ADHD, but I can't stand doing one thing for a long time. In triathlon, I grew up a swimmer, and I've been a biker. I'm not a very good runner, but I can run. And it just got into, I did my first triathlon when I was a sophomore or a junior up at CSU, and I kind of just got hooked on it. And then after I put on my first triathlon, after I sold Boulder Peak, I said, I'm done putting on races in 2004. And then in 2008, Darren sells me the Eldora races, which now is the X-Darien Peaks. And then 2 years later, I take this race over. And I still just like the camaraderie of triathlons. People kind of commiserate with each other and push each other out on the course and cheer each other on. And it just, I have to have a goal. So I'm trying to get my fat butt back in shape for to do Ironman Canada next August. I got a year to get my ducks in a row. But I just still really enjoy the event, the racing and putting on races and watching people suffer.
Well, yeah, let's talk about your other side of your life. I mean, you and I share something, I think, in common, and that's Colorado history. And you teach Colorado history, or have taught Colorado.
Right.
So you're a high school teacher. You coach swimming, correct?
Yep.
And you're at A West, is that right?
Yep, Arvada West, yeah.
So, and you used to be at Columbine?
I was just a coach at Columbine.
You're
I
a coach at
I was teaching middle school at Creighton when I was coaching
yeah.
at Columbine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and how long have you been teaching?
This is my 28th year.
Okay.
So,
what do you love about that?
I connect with the kids. I didn't become a teacher until I was 29, and I remember going back to school to be a teacher, and I was terrified to tell my parents I was going back to school for a third time. And I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm back in school. And she's like, why? I was like, I want to be a high school history teacher. She goes, oh, it's about time. I'm like, what? She goes, you love kids and you're great at history. And so, yeah, I'm kind of a goob. And so I connect with the high school kids, and I motivate them to learn. And I like to have a passion to see them not just learn, but kind of embrace, what they're learning. And it's a new, I switched from history to business and marketing last year, so it's a new challenge for me to take on a whole new set of curriculum.
So, in terms of history with this particular race, is there anything that comes to mind that might be of particular interest to people about Lookout Mountain that you know that maybe not everybody else knows?
It was, like Mount Vernon Country Club was formed in the mid-20s, and it was, Mount Vernon is a true country club. We don't have a golf course. The membership rates are not outrageous. I mean, I coach a Lakewood Country Club, and it's insane what people pay at those clubs. I mean, this is a much more laid back, middle class country club that, there's 100 families that live in the club. I'm still friends with many of the families who I haven't lived up here in 30 years. And there's just, the club here in the building here was built in the 20s, and people have been coming up here. And back in the 20s, people would come up here for the weekend. It would take you all day to get here because you're driving your little Model T. And when we moved up here in the 60s, if you didn't have money, you moved up here.
Oh, okay.
It was like, oh yeah, if you don't have any money, you move up to the mountains because it's cheaper. So, that's why this is kind of a unique area to grow up in.
Interesting. Oh. Yeah, we talked about the Coors lived up here, and then I know that on the Lariat Trail, there's still some old water tower. If you peek behind some of the brushes, there's a couple of water tower spot or water refueling or water cooling spots.
They were the Model Ts that stopped and refilled the radiators on the way up.
Yeah. And then the old, what do they call that? There was a car that went up Table Mountain. There's a stripe in the brush.
Oh, they had the funicular.
Yes, that's it.
The funicular was like a roller coaster car that would back the people up to the top.
Yeah.
And they had one that went up Lookout, and they also had one that went up the side of South Table Mountain next to the Castle Rock right above Coors. You still see the scar from both of those. And they had one that went above Red Rocks.
Oh, okay.
There's a stripe on Mount Morrison right behind Red Rocks Park. There's a scar from a funicular.
Yeah.
That what's-his-face Walker built.
And then there was the dance hall on top of South Table that became a KKK hangout.
Yeah, and it burned down under mysterious circumstances. And if you go up on South Table, you can still see the hooks.
Right.
Where the hooks where the cables would hook into the hooks to keep the restaurant from blowing away.
Is that what it was?
Because they had no foundation. They didn't put cement. It was like literally strapped to the rocks. The restaurant was. Okay. But yeah, it was a well-known KKK hangout for 4 or 5 years.
I love all that kind of history. It makes all this so much fun when you ride around, and there's so many people that don't understand the history, which is fine, but it's just cool when they do. So,
and that's the thing that's what's fun about this course. You get to ride by so much history. You go right past the Betcher Mansion,
right?
And the Betcher, Charles Bay was his weekend home. He didn't live there really; it was his weekend home.
Yeah.
And you go past, Bill Coors' old house, and there's just so much history up here that. The Apex Park used to be a wagon road.
Right, and they show what the tolls were.
Yeah, they'll sign the tolls. Yeah, and so this was kind of the pathway to the mountains, because Clear Creek was just a railroad. You couldn't drive or hike up Clear Creek. It was just railroad back then.
Okay.
Until the 1940s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And now they have the bike path trying to get up through.
They're trying to. I don't know how they're ever going to get all that done.
A lot of money.
Well, in the Narrows, when you get into the Narrows, I don't know where they're going to put a bike path.
Yeah.
But they did it, in Moab. They did a cantilever right above the river.
Oh.
North of Moab, above the Colorado River. So they might end up doing that with the bike path.
Yeah.
So that was one of my dreams, was to run a half marathon down Clear Creek Canyon.
Really?
And I fought for years. I got a City of Golden, did an official proclamation supporting the Clear Creek Half Marathon. I mapped out the course, started right below 119, which is the intersection takes you at Blackhawk. And you would go right before you get to Highway 6, you'd go down on Church Ditch, which they're rebuilding right now. And you'd go back on these dirt paths and then finish in downtown Golden, right underneath the arch. It was great. And the casinos fought it.
Oh.
And they fought it, and I actually got 15 minutes with Governor Hickenlooper. And Hickenlooper was like, unless you can lawyer up, because the casinos are going to bury you, and the state cannot support you unless the entities at both ends support the event. And Blackhawk's like, they fought. I was like, you'll get to Blackhawk or Central City faster if you take the Central City Parkway. But Blackhawk didn't want anybody stopping in Central City that might go to Blackhawk.
Dumb.
Yeah, it's the Hatfield McCoy's up there. So that the Clear Creek Marathon, until they ever finish the bike path, the Clear Creek half marathon will never.
Just think how many people that could bring to Blackhawk.
Well, that's what I told them, hey, we'd work out an agreement with the casinos and the hotels, have people stay in the hotels the night before the race, and we'd run shuttles down to the start line So you don't have to take a bus up to the start line from the finish. And they're like, nope.
Maybe now's a good time to talk to them.
Yeah, because they're desperate for business. Yeah.
Anyway, well, cool. We're at the Mount Vernon Country Club having a Moscow Mule. We had a great little ride and run, and folks, try out this triathlon. I think you'd have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, September 5th. Go to digdeepsports.com.
Perfect.